It is the failure in agriculture and the growth of discontent in the rear that could become a turning point for Russia in the war against Ukraine. Russian economist and doctor of economics Igor Lipsits told Glavred about this in an interview. According to Lipsits, there are several signals that will indicate that the Russian economy can no longer withstand the strain, and the Kremlin will have to sit down at the negotiating table. He explained that the war with Ukraine is exhausting, and such conflicts usually end when neither side is able to achieve a military advantage. The front line stabilizes and the fighting loses momentum. A similar situation was observed in particular during the Korean War. In addition, serious problems may arise within Russia itself, which will also contribute to the search for ways to end the war. Let's go back, say, to the times of the First World War. It cannot be said that in 1917 the Russian army was in a bad position on the fronts of the First World War. No, there were quite normal supply options. There were weapons. The army was fed normally, and there was no total collapse or destruction of the system. But in the rear, fluctuations began. As you remember, there were interruptions in food supplies in St. Petersburg, and this is where the February Revolution began. And then everything went awry. About the same thing can happen in modern Russia. And by the way, this can already be accurately predicted, the economist points out. The economist noted that he had warned several months ago that autumn could be difficult for Russia due to the situation in the agricultural sector. The first reports on the harvest already indicate problems. The volumes are significantly lower than last year. In some places, the harvest is only a third of last year's. According to Lipsitz, this could lead to Russia losing its status as not only the largest, but even a significant wheat exporter. The country could face food shortages, which would cause discontent among the population. In such a situation, ending the war could become a tool for the Kremlin to reduce social tension. And then ending the war could become the trump card that Putin can present to the population. Therefore, I would very carefully monitor what will happen in agriculture and with the harvest in Russia this fall. There could be a really unpleasant situation there, and it is quite real, he summed up.
The United States has resumed weapons shipments to Ukraine, delivering 155mm artillery shells and guided missile systems, two U.S. officials told Reuters. The deliveries come after a short pause in arms transfers by the Trump administration that raised concerns in Kiev and Washington. Diplomatic efforts remain frozen, while Russia escalates its attacks. On July 9, Moscow launched the largest combined missile and drone assault of the war, firing over 740 projectiles at Ukrainian infrastructure. The barrage signals Russia's hardened military posture and fuels fears the war could stretch on for years. The resumed shipment includes 155mm artillery shells and GMLRS or guided multiple launch rocket system missiles, vital to Ukraine's frontline operations. The officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, did not disclose the size of the shipment or confirm if deliveries were complete. The pause, which occurred last week, was reportedly tied to Pentagon concerns over depleted U.S. munitions reserves. The White House has not formally commented on the internal review. President Donald Trump told reporters he was unaware of who had ordered the temporary halt in arms deliveries. He added that the U.S. would continue sending weapons to Ukraine, with an emphasis on defensive systems to counter advancing Russian forces. It is unclear whether the resumed shipment reflects a broader shift in policy or a continuation of prior aid commitments. Ukraine reported over 740 drones and missiles launched by Russia in a single night, the most extensive aerial attack since the war began. Strikes targeted infrastructure across multiple regions. President Volodymyr Zelensky responded by calling for tougher sanctions on Russian revenue sources, especially oil exports. In a statement, Zelensky said he has ordered expanded coordination with the United States to secure urgent deliveries of air defense systems and other military aid. Kiev continues to press Washington for faster and more consistent support amid ongoing attacks. Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, said Wednesday that Russia hopes U.S. President Donald Trump will continue efforts to settle the Ukrainian military campaign diplomatically despite supplying further weapons to Kyiv. "We also hope that his team will continue efforts to take the process of Ukrainian settlement to a political and diplomatic stage," Peskov said. Asked about Trump's comments, in which he expressed frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin and threatened new sanctions, Peskov responded that Russia will treat it quite calmly. "In general, Trump has quite a tough style in terms of phrasing he uses," Peskov added. According to Associated Press, he also noted that Russia expects to start discussing the memoranda presented by Moscow and Kiev during the next round of talks. Europe's top human rights court delivered 2 rulings against Russia Wednesday, stating in the first ruling that Russia violated international law during the military conflict in Ukraine. Speaking just before the ruling, Peskov said that Russia will not abide by the ruling, adding that it considers it void. Any decision by the European Court of Human Rights will be largely symbolic. The complaints were brought before the court's governing body expelled Moscow in 2022.
Вы знаете, мы достаточно спокойно к этому относимся. У Трампа в целом достаточно жесткая стилистика о том, какие фразы он использует и так далее. Мы рассчитываем продолжать наш диалог с Вашингтоном и нашу линию на починку изрядно поломанных двусторонних отношений. Мы рассчитываем также, что несмотря на все решения о возобновлении поставок вооружений и так далее, хотя никто там в реальности ничего и не прекращал, никакие поставки, даже несмотря на это, все-таки мы рассчитываем на то, что Трамп и его команда продолжат усилия по выводу процесса украинского регулирования в политико-дипломатическую плоскость. Мы ожидаем, что все-таки третий состоится и что диалог будет продолжен. Нам еще нужно начать обсуждение все-таки тех меморандумов, которыми мы обменялись. Это тоже будет очень сложный процесс, и процесс, который будет проходить не в течение одной ночи или одного дня. Не собирается выполнять, считаем их ничтожными.
President Donald Trump said Monday the U.S. will have to send more weapons to Ukraine, just days after ordering a pause in critical weapons deliveries to Kyiv. According to Associated Press, the comments by Trump appeared to be an abrupt change in posture after the Pentagon announced last week that it would hold back delivering to Ukraine some air defense missiles, precision-guided artillery and other weapons because of what U.S. officials said were concerns that stockpiles have declined too much. "We have to," Trump said. "They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. We're going to send some more weapons, defensive weapons primarily." The pause had come at a difficult moment for Ukraine, which has faced increasing, and more complex, air barrages from Russia during the more than 3-year-long war. Russian attacks on Ukraine killed at least 11 civilians and injured more than 80 others, including 7 children, officials said Monday. The move last week to abruptly pause shipments of Patriot missiles, precision-guided GMLRS, Hellfire missiles and howitzer rounds and weaponry took Ukrainian officials and other allies by surprise. The Pentagon affirmed late Monday that at Trump's direction, it would resume weapons shipments to Ukraine, to ensure the Ukrainians can defend themselves while we work to secure a lasting peace and ensure the killing stops. Still, spokesman Sean Parnell added that its framework for Trump to evaluate military shipments worldwide continues as part of America First defense priorities.
We're trying to help out with a Biden-created monster, this whole thing that's happening with Russia and Ukraine. It's a horrible thing, and I'm not happy with President Putin at all. But this is something that would have never happened if I were president. This was a war that was never going to happen. And if I can stop a war, because I have an ability to do so, I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either.
Mr. President, are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. they're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very